Hi, everybody. Welcome back again. And in today's episode, let me tell you, there is a category that I have some knowledge about, but I guess my original knowledge would be the fact that I grew up outside of Buffalo, New York, and today we're going to talk about snowshoes. So I can't tell you that I'm the world's expert on snowshoes, but having spent my entire life to this point living in Western New York, I can tell you I know all about snow. That being said, in this museum environment that we've created out here, it's said, at least I haven't counted until recently, that there are 31 pairs of snowshoes out here in our place, and we like to try and have as many different pairs as we can, and that's really what my goal is today. So Adam and I are starting out front, and these here ones, these are kind of, and you know what else? We're not going to even discuss the values of these until we get done with this segment. And I'll tell you what to look for in snowshoes and how much you should or shouldn't pay for them. Then you're all on your own. That being said, here's some that have some tip wear, and you can see they're cracked right here. And these are an old pair of snowshoes, and these have been used. So they look good. These would actually warrant, you could probably hang these outside on the side of a building if you wanted to, and not be worried about the fact that you hung a $200 pair of snowshoes out. And when you hang your snowshoes out, you know, don't be like some of those people that we see and they hang them like this. Don't do that, don't do that. Hang your snowshoes like that. Cross your snowshoes. That's a great snowshoe display. So a pair like this, they show age and they've been used, but they still have their original brass tag on them. And without my glasses, I can't tell you anything other than the fact that if you come in on that, maybe they'll be able to read it themselves. What do you think, Adam? We'll find out.
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. So here's one with decal. This has a decal on it. Maybe I can read that one. No, that's no better. I can't read that either. It's always nice to have the original labels on anything that you collect in vintage stuff or antiques and so on. But these ones here, we take, they say these ones, is that a term? These here, we put these outside when we're open to invite the tourists in and lean them up against the windows. There's a pair there, little rounded tip jobs. And you notice even as old as these are and as well used as they were, they still have their original leather bindings on them. That's something you want to look for when you're looking for vintage snowshoes as well. If you see the pair behind them, well, that's just some replacement that somebody tied on there. That's a replacement someone tied on. Here's another pair here behind these, a little bit lighter colored, and they have the original leather binding on these as well. So we kind of like that when snowshoes look like that. And I think we started out. These here, I went at it with some antique dealer from North Carolina at an auction there a year or two back. These turned up at an auction in Clarence, New York, and you know, I didn't have a pair like this and I wanted them, and that doggone Jerry, he went at it with me at that auction and ran me up a little bit on that pair of snowshoes, but I bought them anyway. I think they were, I don't know, $3,500, $4,000. I don't remember what it was. You know how those auctions can get people going. No, they weren't that much. But he ran me up to about $1.50 or so, $150. But that's okay. I wanted them just like all the other foolishness in here too. Here's another few pair right here. And boy, we have snowshoes. Here, come on back and I'll show you. I'll show you a couple other pairs. I know they're around here somewhere. Oh, here's some, you know, here's some recent arrivals. Here's some that we just got, within the last month or so, I think. And I'll even pull them out of here if you want. Now, we went to a gun show out there in Hamburg, New York, and there was a nice old fella set up with a bunch of stuff and sporting good related things. And he had this pair of snowshoes, and I've never seen, you can see the size of them. I don't want to say that they're for children, but they're not exactly for the deepest snow in the world either, but I don't know what those are. They're kind of leather laced and have these canvas pads on them, of course, but that would keep the snow from coming through as well as your big old foot. So we bought those, and they're pretty reasonable. I forget, we bought these for about, I don't know, $35, $40 or something. But at the same show, here's a pair that I hadn't ever seen before. And they're from CA London, Hastings, Minnesota. I guess you can see that right there. But if you look closely where it says CA Lund, Hastings, Minnesota, right above it, it says U.S. And so I was kind of intrigued by that. And so I looked these up a little bit, trying to find out what they were. And these are Army, U.S. military snowshoes for fighting in the mountains, I guess, or whatever the case may be. So I thought those were pretty cool. We paid $75 for that pair. I thought that was all right. But these are U.S. military, and we didn't have any pair of those in here up to that point. But we do now. And they have, you know, you also notice on these, forgot, they have a little bit of metal attached to the binding on these, you know, for a little bit more, what am I trying to say, strength, you know, for running while someone is shooting at you. But on the back side, you'll see that part of that metal binding is to grab ice right here. It has ice hooks on the back of these. So they're quite a pair of snowshoes. You can literally walk up the face of a ice-covered mountain on those right before they release and you fall to your death. Here's a pair of bear paw, what they call bear paw snowshoes. Those are kind of cool, and they're quite beautiful and quite old. And they're called bear paw because they're short and more rounded than most snowshoes that you see. And then some of these more elongated versions, there's a couple pair back there and some back there. Sometimes some of these more long, well, this is a real nice pair right here, I'll tell you what. Look at those. Those are beauties. Look like they might have an old over varnish on them, but once again, original bindings, that's kind of like that. Put these back here by the old world globe. Here's a pair behind this raccoon coat. And then as we go up the Adirondack frequently, we hear a term referred to on some of these elongated snowshoes. Well, here's a pair back in here. This is a great pair. They're referred to them as pickerels. I've heard these referred to as pickerels. If you know what a pickerel is, it's a fish unlike a pike or a muskellunge. They're long and narrow. And I guess I could see why they would refer to a snowshoe like that as pickerels. These things are almost 5 feet long and quite durable. And I imagine because the width, because they are narrower, I should think you could move along at a little brisker pace wearing a pair of those. I do want to mention at this time, however, that though I have a lot of snowshoes, you can be sure I've never put a pair on and went out in the woods on them. Forget that. I'll ski, but I'm not going to go up and fall down on snowshoes. Here's another elongated pair right here. These are nice too. Oh, as a matter of fact, this is the newest pair. Internationally known antique dealer Jerry Ross brought these to us on my birthday just a few days ago because he knows that we like snowshoes. And these are from Norway, Maine, company in Norway, Maine. And boy, these things are stone mint. These hardly even look like they've been used at all. And he's very kind and sold them to me for a very reasonable price. It was well under $1,000 for the pair. Just kidding. He's a good guy. And I'll bring you up to speed on the value of snowshoes here when we finish up. Here's another pair also with the original decal on them. I don't know why I have so many pairs of snowshoes. I guess they just look good in here with all the other foolishness that we have around. But what I've come to find out is, I guess, according to my daughter, the snowshoes are becoming kind of a hot commodity. People are collecting them, using them to decorate with them, and I can understand that, of course. So, and we do live in the Northeast, and so, you know, we know all about snow, as I mentioned before. But I'll close this particular episode with a pair of snowshoes that I bought, probably over 20 years ago, and I'll bring them out into the light, because this pair here, these are Native American snowshoes, and not just Native American snowshoes, but these are child snowshoes made by Native Americans here in the Northeast somewhere. I don't know exactly the origin, and you can see there's just a little bit left of the bindings on them. What I want you to notice, though, when you're out hunting for snowshoes, if you decide to collect a pair, if you ever see them, large or small, with cotton or material tufts along the edges of them, that is one way to identify snowshoes as being Native American made. And I want to tell you, we were up at the Adirondack Antique Show this past September in Indian Lake, New York as well. Everybody set up down the road and at the museum. And I couldn't find a pair of snowshoes that I could buy and not feel guilty about. And when I saw Native American snowshoes this year, they were the highest priced snowshoes. I saw snowshoes for $400, $500, $600, $700, $800. I saw a pair of snowshoes for $1,100 at the Adirondack Antique Show this year. I didn't see anybody wearing them out of the place when the show was over, however, so they may have been a little bit pricey. But I can say that I bought these probably the better part of 25 years ago. I paid $350 for this pair of snowshoes way back then, and you can be sure that I value them for just as much, if not $200 or $300 more than what I paid for them. So if you're out and about and going to shows or shops or you know, that ever-present yard sale or garage sale, know this about snowshoes. Entry level, if you can buy a pair for $50 or $75, they're in good shape. You definitely want to be buying them. But you're going to see snowshoes priced anywhere from, we're going to say $75 up to as much as $375. So you have to use your judgment. There's so many different kinds of types of snowshoes that are available, and so many makers that I don't really think that it really has much bearing on their value as much as the overall condition. So once again, as we always say, condition is everything, but snowshoes have a great collectible value, anywhere between $50 and $75 up to as much as $300, $400, and even $500 for a good pair of snowshoes. Thanks for watching.